Remix. 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 Remix.
Oh, yeah. Welcome out. This is the Remix Morning Show. Right here on Black Liberation Media. In case you didn't know, I go by the name of the Ear Doctor here to bring you that boom bap breakfast. Just us, not just me, holding the D. And if it's a problem, you know she got a solution. Who am I talking about? You know her as Jackie Loma. First thing first, we go. Oh, let me start, Jackie.
Oh, come on.
You know, I was about to go in. I was about to go hamburger and cheese. Good to see you, sis. How you?
Oh my God, I'm exhausted. I'm
I thought you was gonna be
emotional.
on the road.
I was on the road. I literally
Oh.
just got back from Venezuela yesterday.
What?
Yep.
Is it true that you got to have a real ID to get back in the country, or they'll make you pay like $20, $45?
$45. That's
And
right.
wait 30 minutes just to get it done?
Like all of this mess is a huge money grab for the people who already have a whole lot of money. They're just shaking down everybody now because they done took everything from us. So, well, they keep shaking us down, keep trying to shake more money out of our pockets. What
Hey,
money? So
that
now they're just going after everybody else.
That's you see the thumbnail. Fly away, boy. That
Mm.
TSA, the whole airport system, all that stuff
Mhm.
is crazy. Yeah, I want to go fly somewhere, but you know, I just want to be as fly as Erica Kane.
Ooh.
Ooh,
Okay.
what you went in my dashiki closet.
You have a dashiki collection.
Yes, I do. I got that same dashiki. Let me find
Good
out.
morning.
Good morning.
This is
Good
from Liberia.
morning.
Shout out to
Ah,
Belfina.
Oh, nice.
look like the one I got from Chinatown, but I believe it.
Nigeria, Chinatown. You know,
East
Word.
Africans.
Hey.
peace. Ooh, that's a
Yeah.
word today.
You were missed, Jackie.
I missed y'all, but it was. I needed to see what I saw.
Yeah.
Ooh, we getting a live report from the ground from Jackie Lukman.
Yeah, I got a lot of video to edit. And now I owe y'all 2 videos for Darker Than Blue because I did Darker Than Blue from Caracas this past Friday. But the video, because I don't take my personal electronics when I travel. I have a backup, and the backup is a tablet, so the video isn't great. So I couldn't process it as I was doing the show, but I'm gonna get all that stuff edited. I'm gonna put it. So now I owe the Black Liberation Media Patreon 2 Darker Than Blue videos.
Yeah.
But yeah, I
Hey, real quick,
this
Chichi Monster.
country.
Chichi Monster says, "Wait, a U.S. passport doesn't count for ID."
No.
That's crazy. So
If you're flying internationally, yes, it does. If you're flying domestically, no, it does not.
Since when?
Since they can stop and ask if you have a real ID or not.
Yeah, that's what I heard.
Yeah,
like if you coming in the country.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
yeah, but I didn't know. So I know that. Well, I had to get a new ID before. They made it mandatory, so they already processed me within that. But recently when I was flying, they were letting, and it's probably a couple months ago, Like there were people who still didn't have it, but then you had to pay extra. But now I think it's like they're not even letting you on the flight.
Yeah, that exactly. Yeah, that's exactly. And I mean, yeah, yeah. I got to tell you, being in Caracas after what was done on January 3rd, and seeing the people of Venezuela down to the children. Do you understand me? Down to the teenagers and the preteens who understand you and coming back to this.
I don't even know what to call it. This boy.
I don't you're careful. At least I try to be careful not to, exceptionalize populations of people, or exceptionalize countries, because there are contradictions abound everywhere within every project. Um, it's something. It's something though when you have a population of people that has been through something like this before, so they are hyper vigilant about it anyway, and then because this is a recurring theme in history, they're always prepared for it. And even in their preparation, what was done was so beyond what had been done before, that nobody really, they fought the best they could, but they realized they were outmatched. But still, the entire country was ready to mobilize in preparation for a second strike. The entire country. So all of those videos y'all saw about Venezuelan people of all ages and backgrounds signing up for militias and getting weapons and getting training if they needed it. They really did that. That was not, yes, they did. And they were ready on when by the time morning broke on January 3rd. But the entire country got the word to stand down because of the material realities of fighting a kinetic battle with the United States. And there's a whole there's discussion around that. And I get, leftists are like, oh my God, why would you do that?
When you
There's
say kinetic, what's
kinetic means
kinetic?
a hot war, fighting with
Supersonic.
guns. Supersonic. Yeah.
Like, oh, okay, like throwing rocks at a missile.
No, like
No.
no.
It's worse than a
Kinetic
missile.
really just means contact, hot.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
So yeah. So um and there is an aspect of this that is so unbelievably, luck can't even describe um the fact that there is not a lingering environmental catastrophe emanating from January 3rd. But I'll explain all of that later, because
Ooh,
I'm not
boy,
going to give
boy,
it
boy.
all this morning.
Don't give it to them all. Don't give it to them all.
But
But Agent Orange
yeah,
didn't brag about it at the State of Union last night.
because let me tell you something. That
Did any of y'all catch it?
all he wants is the oil. That is all he wants.
Yes, pretty
And
much.
and he's not actually interested in regime change necessarily, because the regime has not changed. If to use their terms, the Bolivarian government in Venezuela stands. It has not changed. They have not sold out. They have not. There is such a thing as negotiation to survive another day, and especially if you are a government that is responsible for a nation of millions of people. Yeah, you do have to think twice a little bit about how you respond, and you have to look at things strategically. And sometimes there's such a thing as a strategic retreat, so you can live to fight another day and ultimately win. But even in the context of the concept of a strategic retreat, what we think are the retreats are not. All of the things coming out about the interim president Delcy Rodriguez has sold out Maduro, and she's working with the United States, and the government is doing this and they're giving it. No, that's not true. It is not true. All of that is U.S. propaganda. All of it is lies. And it's so, and it's wild how the people, and most of the people that I talk to anyway, um, and from what the people in Venezuela that we work with told us, most of the people understand this because you know why? Their government talks to them and explains these things to them. Regular Maduro did the same thing Chavez did with regular addresses to the people. There were forums, they have forums and outlets, radio shows, television shows, where the Venezuelan people can call in and ask the president questions, complain about stuff, ask to clarify things. So the people were very, very familiar with the constant threat of the US government trying to do what they tried to do to Chavez. That the Venezuelans have always understood that that threat would always exist, and the Maduro government prepared the people well. They did not hide anything, from the people, and he was honest with people. He told according to his son, and we met with his son. According to his son, his father had been knowing that something like this would happen for years, and he had, and in the recent year, since this regime has come into power in this country, because of the focus on the oil, Maduro had been preparing his government, his family, his everything for just an action like this.
Mm.
So
Yeah,
it's a lot. It's a lot.
Jackie coming back hot, boy. And I think I'm supposed to be going to South America end of the year. So I think a lot of us are trying to figure out how it is when it comes to flying, like ZZ. A-Rob sending in 1999. Appreciate you. Jackie, did you opt out of facial recognition? I did coming back from international flight last week. They took me to another line and took my picture with different camera, but never asked for passport. So still must been FR.
I didn't because they already have they already have to just
I mean,
like,
as soon as you get to the airport down there, right?
I'm pretty sure. I mean, I'm pretty sure. So, I mean, and I just came back from international travel last year, so they've already got it. It's
You came back to this good old weather. Did Z make it to school, or y'all still frostbit up there, Erica?
What? Ain't no damn snow. There is no snow. Like,
Oh,
not
it's
a
not.
bit. Nothing
Oh,
happened. Okay,
oh,
nothing.
okay,
The snow
good.
coughed on the streets of Maryland,
Ah.
and the kids had virtual school, to which I was tortured on Monday.
It
He
ain't
could have
even
went to
sneeze
school.
down here.
He
Oh,
could have
okay.
went to school.
Mm,
But I see New York and Philly got hit hard, but
woo.
nothing happened here. Nothing significant. Not like the
Mhm.
previous week, because that's
Mm,
still melting.
okay.
Mhm.
So yeah, so did you check out any hear about this? So the one thing I did see about this union address last night is old boy Al Green, I think was his name.
Mhm.
He went in there with a sign that said "We are not apes." I mean, don't we already know that? I mean, I guess you want to disrupt what's going on. I seen a bunch of people with pins that said "F Ice" and all that stuff. Which,
That's the best they can do. That's
I
that's that's
mean,
that's disruption. I'm
I
sorry.
mean, you
I
stepping into the lion's den. I mean, you knew what was going down.
but they're supposed to be the lions in the den. What? I
Mm.
mean, what?
Pussycats.
No, I'm sorry. I need all of these so-called opposite members of the so-called opposition party in this country to be like the parliaments in other countries where they have
Mm.
fist fights. That's
Woo,
that's what
throwing
I need to
shoes,
see.
everything.
At this
Yeah.
point, if our elected representatives are not scrapping on the floor of the Senate and the House, I don't believe nothing anybody says about, because they're not doing anything else. And
It's
certainly holding
also
up a sign and putting on some pins at a State in the Union. That's not disruption.
It's also nonsense because they just funded ICE, right? They just continue to fund the Department of War, and so it's like double talk, and so like as I'm watching all these congressional hearings, so much of it is like I don't know if folks have seen Chicago, but Billy Flint gave a word when he talked about razzle dazzle because that's much of what this is. It's just something, but nothing's actually happening. And so even to the extent that we are not apes, it is a way that I think even in the conversation of the Tourette's thing at the BAFTAs, that we get caught up in certain things that are really not fundamentally the actual issue here. Like, was it fucked up? Sure. But that's not the crisis we're in. Like, being called ape and nigga, not the crisis that we're in, right?
Yeah.
But it is the one that's going to get fixated on. It's the headline. It's a big thing to see that they wore a fuck ICE pin. I don't even know what that means, though, right? Because even the arguments against ICE, they're also saying, as they're saying that, well, we don't need ICE because we have our own police. So they certainly would never say fuck the police. They're not wearing those pins because they don't even want to hear fun, right? Even as toothless as that is. So it is a lot of double speak, which is why I think it is kind of the way that we talk about both parties within this system. I think we need to be really careful about how we toe a line about a sort of barefaced white supremacy, because what are we actually saying? Because that pendulum swings back, and we know that there's only limited options that are even given to the people, right? What is the alternative to that? Because even as we acknowledge those certain things, a lot of what we have seen has been concessions from the state. And so it's not like we've made any particular progress as a people or advance as a people. These have been concessions from the state so that they can continue to beat our ass. They can continue to fuck us up. So we have never not seen that. So this is an escalation for sure, but it is in a continuation of how either policy-wise or through show of strength, we have been getting our asses beat. And so the Democratic Party doesn't even address that, because while they may appear to be against the overt ass whoopings, they do it through policy. They do it through austerity policy every time. So it's really, I think, the way that violence is even discussed that I think is lost in the conversation about escalation and what we're actually experiencing, because we've never been devoid of violence against us. So what it looks like and how we're able to identify it, I think, is important, because then it actually points to what the root causes is. We are people at war, right? So whoever is the face of that war, or the general, so to speak, right, as president, that's interchangeable. But the war has continuously been on us. So how we respond to that, I think, matters. And especially now that it's more vicious because it's in decline. Like when we talk about Venezuela, and we talk about even now the siege on Cuba and the continuation of devastation and genocide in Palestine and Sudan, and the occupation of Haiti and what's happening in Iran, that is all an exhibit of an empire in decline. It is lashing out, right? And so it's not even so much of an imperial boomerang. It's been happening here, but we're feeling it more because, again, it's in decline, and we are the immediate, right? So I do think it's really important how we do discuss it for clarity wise, because when we see that there's a mainstream media narrative that pinpoints all of this violence on one sole person to then advocate for one particular solution that sustains a state that continues to perpetuate violence, how we name these things is important, because we're just going to end right. It's going to swing back, right? Where Hakeem Jeffries is a savior, and a Cory Booker is a savior, and a Jasmine Crockett is a savior, right? But policy-wise, there's no difference. It's just rhetorically how it plays out, and then the spectacle of it all, right? And so really, it's about who can wield the narrative better.
I see Jasmine Crockett just came up, introduces the Payback Act. The Payback Act would direct the Secretary of the United States Department of Treasury to refund Americans for increased costs resulting from illegal tariffs imposed by Donald Trump.
And see,
I mean, I guess
that's another aspect of the performativeness. It's just the policy performance. That's just
right, because also, like, you know, we're sanctioned in other ways within our communities. So the tariffs, and also like the fashion world is suing Donald Trump currently. Like there's because tariffs is fucking the
that's
economy
right.
up.
That's
right, you
right.
know,
I didn't think about that. Yeah.
Right. Your Temu orders.
Yeah.
Your Shein orders.
Yeah.
Your little TikTok orders.
Like wouldn't Bezos be like mad like at this whole tariff thing? With Amazon?
I mean, listen, it's the same way that they are mad about AI, right? It's a way that they also control that narrative. They benefit and there's a kickback. Because look, for instance, Saks Fifth Avenue, right, has had to file for bankruptcy. By the way, you all have to really actually look into that story. Oh yeah, Saks is done. But that's really a story about the beauty of private equity. You know, we could talk about that one day if we want to really talk about political economy. But they just before they had to file for bankruptcy. They brought Neiman Marcus, so Neiman Marcus is also
Neiman Marcus.
All the good.
They're gonna be like they're gonna be like J.C. Penney's in a minute.
Yeah, Neiman Marcus fighting for his life. Saks is done, but the courts just ruled that Saks can get a $6 billion bankruptcy loan because they have to pay $300 million to Bernard Arnault, who was on stage with.
Oh wow!
And because he runs LVMH, which is the Louis Vuitton Moet Hennessy, and Bezos gets a $300 million because Amazon also has an investment cut in that. So ain't nobody hurting.
Right?
Ain't nobody hurting. The courts
those tariffs are not hurting them.
Yeah, again, right? Because the courts still would allow for certain things to, acquisitions and. But yeah, the fashion world is a mess. They're always in litigation, always. But that's the tale of neoliberalism and private equity.
I think we got a lot to talk about. We might as well just go ahead and dive into the news and get on it because it's a lot, boy. I tell you. All right, well, let's do it right here. We'll take a quick break and we're gonna come back right here on No Other Than the Remix Morning Show. Let's go. All right, hit that like button, subscribe if you're new to the channel, go to patreon.com, become a member over there, get footage that's rare, and donate where at blkliberationmedia.org. Yes, go get you some fly merch, get you a hoodie like that, man, so you can be fresh and warm. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of cool. Or get you a mug. Thug, get you a mug, a Remix Morning Show mug. Man, we got it all right here. Yo, let me go ahead and give you all a remix on the remix. Check this out.
It's not enough. Satisfying emotions that are shared between us. Winter love is closing out. I need so much more. Just intensify my wants to have a love that you can. No mercy. Hey, girl, don't come back to me. Got nothing but not do me. 3 o'clock or 4 o'clock, you still love me. Me all the while and be by my side. Don't run away and show me no pride. This is not the tiger, and you me love. Yes, I want to show you how much I care. Take you anywhere you want, go me near. Anytime I close my eyes, I feel cool. No matter matter what the season is, I stay love you. It all my heart. I wanna be with you wherever you are.
Yeah. Come and say nearer, far, nearer. Anyway, yo, make sure y'all tune in every Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. This is the Remix Morning Show. Let's get back to it right here. Oh, I forgot to tell y'all, that's Tiger. Yes, he came out with that in 1989, featuring the artist Anthony Marvel. The name of that song is Come Back to Me. Yes, that is your remix on a remix with Ear Doctor beat in the background. Let's get back to it. Let's go. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, self-promotion.
I mean, I just want to make sure that we don't get zapped. So I got to make sure I got to come with some beats so they don't be like, yo, who's that? I can't fucks with the Ear Doctor when it comes to the beat. You know what I'm saying? Anyway. Yo, real quick before we get into the stories, y'all heard about the story about the kid here in Georgia getting hung?
I saw
Say
that
what
you
now?
shared it.
Huh? What you say?
I saw that you shared it, but no, I did not look at it.
Mm-mm.
Oh, I shared it?
Yeah, you said, "Is this true?"
You're quick there, Ricky. You're quick. You're real quick. But they had this right here out in Cobb County. Put y'all on real quick about this brother right here. Check this out. Let's bring it back. Come rewind. And let's get our volume unmute. Bam. Why ain't I hearing no music?
Marietta Park.
Hmm.
Case that has sparked
Here you go.
concern. Tonight, Cobb County leaders are addressing the death of a young man found at a Marietta Park. It's a case that has sparked concern in Metro Atlanta and beyond. Kyle Basinga was found dead at Fair Oaks Park last Wednesday. The 21-year-old was actually reported missing out of Atlanta prior to his death. His death has been ruled a suicide, and police say there was no foul play involved. But there has been some public speculation about what took place.
From everything that we have collected thus far, indicate that he was alone at the time. So there has been not one piece of evidence so far that would indicate that anyone else was there.
So he hung himself from the tree. All right, that's it. I ain't got even nothing else to say, man.
I mean,
I just watched this documentary on Netflix. I feel I just watched this documentary on Netflix about, it was here in Maryland, right? A case like 30 years ago.
Mhm.
It sounds very similar, where they just said, "Oh, we don't know how he got here."
Yeah,
I mean, we still getting lynchings in 2026, y'all. That shit is
Did you just
crazy.
miss my whole spiel? Okay, the war never stopped.
Never stopped. And
okay.
and I did read this last night just because I was trying to relax and so this was reported in Yahoo News, is a couple other places. Where is the title for the thing? There it is. New report finds more than 70 suspected modern day lynchings in the Deep South since 2000.
Yeah.
So no, the war has never ended.
One of them would have been the Gina 6 thing, right?
Yep.
They had one
That's
in Piedmont Park a couple years ago.
Mhm.
Piedmont Park, right downtown Atlanta. This shit is wild.
Yep.
All right.
Yep.
Well,
I think we can get more into this once we toss the satellite.
let's go ahead and do it. And let me get off the screen so y'all can get to it.
All right. Welcome back to the Remix Morning Show. I'm Jackie Lukeman. That's Erica Caines, and this is an article about lynching that is
Yeah.
apparently still going on. Um, and I caution, I kind of caution because I feel like we cannot rule out that yes, people do take their lives by hanging. That does happen, right? Um, and historical lynching happened in a particular context, right? It was usually public, usually done by a group of people, usually attended by lots of people, but not in every single case. So I'm struggling with the language a little bit and the
Well, I
context
had a
of things
question.
being done. But having said that, I'm not invalidating what they're saying. These are just kind of thoughts I'm having about um how the conversation is being had. But your question.
Yeah, no, because I seen that it was raised in the chat, the distinction, and so I do
Oh,
agree because that all. But I was wondering, do you remember that case? I think it was in Texas.
mm-hmm.
The it was a kid, I believe, that was tied, chained to the back of the truck, and
Yes.
dragged. So
Mm-hmm.
that would be lynching, right? The sort of
Right.
torturing, but they don't necessarily have to have hung them,
Yes,
right?
correct.
Okay,
Yes,
so
yeah, I think that's a better way to explain it. Yes, thank you. Yes. That is a great way to explain it. And thanks for whoever said that in the
I
chat.
think it was
We're all on the
Fishimacho.
same page. So great. So, but this article says that the Crimson Record study highlights patterns in suspected lynchings cases, often ruled suicides in the South over the last 25 years. In 2025, reports surfaced of two black men's bodies, Trey Reed and Tory Medley, being found hanging from trees in Wisconsin and Mississippi. And as the families continue to fight for answers surrounding their loved ones' deaths, a new report a new report published by Julian, and let me click on this link to see what Julian is because I like to do that kind of stuff just to make sure. Julian, oh, this is a very interactive, it won't stop kind of of thing. Let's skip the intro and go to about us, who we are. Good Lord, this is way too much. This Julian website here. So these are the people who did this report, this organization called Julian.
Never
Um,
heard of them.
never heard of them either. This is why I had to see. They go, who we are and everything we do, we believe in creating freedom. We believe in feeling, living bliss, no matter what you look like, where you're from, what you believe, who you love. The way we create freedom is by innovating litigation, policy, and organizing to shift consciousness on a mass scale while designing power. What the Okay, we are the future of civil and human rights. Jill Colin Jefferson. I'm not sure what any of that means, but
I have
this is the organization that has done the study. Just sharing that with you. Um, so the report from the study goes on to say that this organization, Julian, reveals that the speculations of their deaths being possible lynchings is not that far fetched, inspired by Ida B. Wells' historic A Red Record, which documented lynchings in the 19th century. Julian's Crimson Record offers an in depth analysis of modern day lynchings from 2000 to 2025, challenging reports that the last lynching in the US took place in 1981. Okay, and even if every instance that is included in this report, which just for public record, I have not read the report, but even if every instance in this report does turn out to be a suicide, the fact that there was still lynchings documented in this country in 1981 is evidence enough it ought to be evidence enough that the war has never ever ended, and there's never been equality, equal justice under the law, or racial justice in this country.
And that's documented, right?
1981.
That's not to say that it wasn't still happening. That was just the
Right.
last time it was documented. So
Exact
yeah,
documented. And that is the other key about lynchings. The record of the lynchings we have are the records that were made, right? Like people, you know doggone well that
right.
many more of our ancestors were murdered in this country, and nobody recorded anything because everybody was in on it. Everybody was always in on all of this. So
You
yeah,
know what
this
that
is
made me think about? Not to, because even as they name Ida B. Wells, the utility of data, right? Because I think we have that conversation around data as it pertains to like elections, but never really like how do we use data and what is the use of it? And so there are like all of these kind of archivists and working around movement and like wanting to archive movement, but then also, the question that I always pose is like, well, what is your relationship to organization and how do you see yourself embedded in that work? Because it is important. This data collection, right? Like being able to have our own stats, especially as we see that federally they're getting rid of it, right? So who holds that? So yeah, so I just think that just puts extra emphasis on the importance of like these roles and having Black archivists, but then also the importance of them not seeing themselves separate from movement. And I think a lot of how a lot of these sort of positions are played out, people kind of see their work as independent and not a collective. And so even thinking about what is data for movement and the importance of it and the importance of collecting it and saving it and having it, and knowing it, right? And I think that all plays into the historical memory, because if they stop collecting it or documenting it rather from 1981, then they can very well say that shit else happened until
right. Right.
until the year 2000 when they started documenting again, right? But then we know that's not true, because one could argue Rodney King was lynched, so
Right.
we know that these things are not true. We have our own kind of, so like, yeah, I think it all puts that kind of emphasis or re-emphasizes the importance of these kind of things.
Yeah, and to the point about not, being disconnected, this data being disconnected from organization, this is where the question I always ask comes in. This is why we ask these questions. Okay, so what's your solution? What do you think the foundational issue that continues to create these conditions that facilitate these outcomes, and what's your solution for ending that? And in getting to what the solution they think is, that's where we find out that people are not connected to any kind of organization, because the solution is usually, you know, defunding the police, or giving them more funding for training, but not actually changing the system at all, which is absolutely necessary. There's no, I think I kind of marveled this weekend about how clear so many just regular folks are, um, in a country that's supposed to be full of poor, ignorant people. I guess is how people
Well,
think about,
yeah.
but they are so clear in the fact that we, the people on the bottom, the working class and poor, do not get treated with equality and justice in a system that is not designed for us. So the system has to be designed for us, by us, in order for us to be treated like human beings in the system. And
Yeah.
here in this country, people are still like, well, if we can change this one little part, it'll be better for all of us.
I think I was having this conversation, so forgive me because I have a lot of conversations. That's how I flesh out thoughts. I talk a lot. But even, I wrote something for Patreon about the Bad Bunny Super Bowl performance, but not
Mhm.
even really about that, but just
Mhm.
the concept of cultural imperialism and really how, because we live here in the US or the West more broadly, there's a way that nationalism is really, really misunderstood. And so that makes me think about how we're understanding the state, right?
Mhm.
And there is a distinction between nationalism and the state. But it is that nationalism that the state is protecting. And so
Mm.
when people, and so I think there's a clarity in that, in people who are advocating to defend their states, right? Like in Iran and Venezuela and Cuba, right?
Mhm.
Because they have a sense of nationalism, right?
Right.
And the importance of that. And nationalism is encompassed of culture and all of these different things that there's a clarity on, where because we're here within empire, in the belly of the beast, right? When we talk about battle of ideas, the way that nationalism is even understood, or the state more broadly, is from a spectrum of understanding nationalism here and what the state is here, and then just
Mhm.
projecting that everywhere, right?
Right.
And so then it's easy for people to then say, oh, the regime is bad in my home, like,
Right.
because they understand things only from a particular perspective of which they've been made to understand things, which is why the word authoritarianism gets tossed around and regime gets tossed around, right? Without
Mhm.
any clarity around that. So that they could say, oh, well, we just need to get rid of him.
Mhm.
Right? And so then they can point to a strong man, which is like, oh, well, we don't want the state to topple, but we want the regime to change, because
Right.
there's a misunderstanding. So, like, the how Cuba is being discussed again around words like dictatorship.
Mhm.
Misunderstanding that Cuba, yes, is a dictatorship of the proletariat,
Of the proletariat. That's right.
right?
That's right. We live in a
um,
dictatorship of finance capital.
Uh, no, it is a dictatorship of the workers. It is evident in the way that it's played out
Mhm.
constitutionally. Like, it's evident in the way that it's played out in communally. The way
Mhm.
that people have a say in their own government in
Mhm.
ways that we do not, right?
Mm.
Because
Yep.
we are a dictatorship of the ruling class of finance
Mhm.
capital,
That's
right?
right.
And so
Yep.
I think it's important for us to really start to clarify these things. One cannot say words like battle of ideas so lightly, because we are really over. It's like where it's like an onslaught of propaganda, right? But it's
Mhm.
only understood as propaganda. And what I'm arguing now at this point is that we should be looking at this as another aspect of imperialism. What does it mean that we have not really grounded what it is to be Black nationalists, even, right?
Mm. Oh yeah. Uh-huh.
Because if there was a grounding in that more coherently and concretely, how we advocate for power would look different. How we integrate with one another would look different, because there's a
Mhm.
clarity around what the fight is for, why we are fighting. And so I do think there's a way that nationalism is misunderstood as it exists in the global south, and why people are so proud of their like countries. Like, there's a pride in that kind of thing, that it's something that we would like to emulate here in the
Mhm.
US, but materially we can't, and we
Right.
shouldn't. We shouldn't
Mhm.
be any parts of this, right?
Mhm.
But there is a longing for that sort of nationalism, while there's a misunderstanding of what that even is, because it's not relatable. It's not a relatable context. And the other reason I think that exists is because we haven't gone through the process of that national pride, which
Yep.
entails a revolution.
That's right.
And
Yep.
so there are ways that I do think the folks are trying to jump and skip and move beyond the steps to get there.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, so there's a lot of social Western chauvinism that I see at play in a lot of these discussions around states and how, all states are bad, and,
Right.
all
Right.
cops are bad. It's just a very
Very.
surface level kind
Hmm.
of rhetorical response
Right.
to how things are actually playing out beyond the global economy.
Yeah, and you would think that people who are supposedly leftists and have a so-called analysis of these social revolutions, people's revolutions, and the states that they have produced, that they're still defending, would have a clear understanding of that, but they don't. And that is kind of confusing. I think that's the part that's confusing to me. Like, how do you understand that the national pride of these countries, and even if you look at, and I was thinking about that this weekend, and we were actually talking about it this weekend, and because this is the beautiful thing about going on these delegations to other countries, particularly revolutionary countries. Not only are you learning about these countries and their histories from the source, and you are interacting with the people who either directly participated in creating that revolution, which, if you go to Cuba, you're still going to meet people. You could still meet people who directly participated in the revolution. So, but you're also meeting people who are beneficiaries of that revolution, who are in the process of defending that. But you also get to meet other organizers, and you're in the same place for several days, seeing this information and this history, and you have an opportunity to analyze the material conditions that you are in and the history that you see, and have that battle of ideas right then and there. And that's kind of what we did on this delegation, as we were having these conversations about what does the continued um the continued resilience and relevance of the Bolivarian Revolution mean for us on the left in the US. And from my perspective, I was really thinking about, once I saw everything that I saw, that I do. Ooh, you don't know how close this country came to creating an enormous catastrophe. And
Mm.
I am not convinced that it wasn't intentional, but that's but when you see how that revolutionary process and the defense of it still benefits millions of people who are related to us, literally, like Afro-Venezuelans are there for the same reason we are here. So to think that what goes on in Venezuela has nothing to do with us is a complete denial of the history of humanity. But it was interesting to have conversations with other leftists, with other organizers, about how this revolution means something a little bit different to different groups of people, to the indigeno Venezuelans, to the Afro descended Venezuelans. There's something different than it means to other groups of people, and even analyzing the proximity of the opposition, the right wing, and how they operate in relation to those groups of people in that same system. And so when I'm talking about the different impacts, or I should say the different levels of necessity to continue to struggle and defend the revolution for different groups of people. Everybody well, not everybody except for the opposition. Most Venezuelans will defend their revolution and their government and their president and their processes and what they have accomplished with their lives. That they prove that this in their response to January 3rd. but they also proved a level of discipline that just freaked me out. But they also understand that the revolution came together because different people were being impacted in different ways by the imperialist colonial system. And so the different ways those people needed to be liberated was addressed by the revolution. And the state that the revolution produced was produced to continue to address those specific needs for all of the people who needed to be liberated through that revolution. Everybody gets liberated. Everybody gets free. Everybody's needs get met. But there are some groups of people who have different, more pressing, deeper needs that must be met than other groups of people. And the Venezuelan people are clear about that. There's not like a weird, well, I'm not going to say there's not a conflict, but the
No, they have a
conflict,
class struggle, yeah, for sure.
yeah, but
that's
they're not like paralyzed by
right.
we're talking about the Afro descendants too much, or we're talking about the indigenous descendants too. No, these are a part of the conversations.
Yeah.
And there are mechanisms to meet these people's specific needs while also ensuring that all of the people's needs are met, so that there is a level of clarity that exists in societies that have gone through this process of revolution that we don't have in this country, because we have
Right.
not gone through that process of revolution, and we really don't pay attention to how those societies that have gone through that process deal with the same issues that keep us that's stuck in analysis paralysis, basically. At least
Yeah.
that's kind of how I'm thinking about this conversation right now
Yeah.
after what I've seen.
I'm also thinking there is reactionary and revolutionary nationalism, right? And to the point of that Super Bowl performance, right? That's reactionary nationalism. But that is not to throw the baby out with the bathwater. You know, it's not to say like it can't be used. So really, the argument is like, well, what is the role of the organizer? If it is that if we have a clarity about the role of nationalism, especially historically, right? The role that nationalism has played in revolutionary movements and revolutions, right? If we look at the PAIGC and you know, and the importance of it. If we look at Gaza, the importance of it. If we look at Haiti, the importance of it, right? But that has to be, people have to be reminded of that history, because there has been such a counter-revolutionary process that we have gone under. Because again, cultural imperialism, you know, read your Edward Said, read your Michael Parenti, stop reading Chomsky. Read the real true Marxist. Read them. Right, but I think it's important to name that, because the counter-revolution that we are under, that we are calling propaganda, which I think dilutes the importance of propaganda for us.
Yes,
why we need to have propaganda, really has done a disservice with how we're able to connect that. So even as we talk about, you know, what we've seen on that stage, much of those conversations with those people who live in those countries that were represented by those flags is a lot of go back and fetch. Go and remember your historical revolution. Go and remember your union, you know, go and remember these periods and these times and have these conversations, because this is the culture. So even like I shared an article, we should probably read that, because Kamala, it's in the, I texted to the main chat.
Okay, and now to the main chat.
You want to take a quick break and then get to it?
Yeah, because my phone is in the other room, and there's a whole bunch.
No problem. Already, you talking about the Trinidad?
Yeah, because Carnival just ended.
Okay, I got it pulled up. already.
Thank you. asked for that.
All right. Let's take a quick break and we're going to come back and get to it. Make sure y'all hit that like button, all that stuff. You know what I mean? All right.
All
boom.
right.
Let's get to it. Bam. Yeah. Welcome out. Once again, like I said, make sure y'all hit that like button, subscribe if you're new to the channel. Go to patreon.com, become a member over there, get footage that's rare. Donate. Why? Why donate? Why get this channel money? Because we need to pay some bills. We need to be here. We're getting shadow banned on different things, so they don't want us to do what we're doing. So, hey, man, make sure we stay here for you and yours. Appreciate that. All right, boom. We almost at a 5-year mark for the Remix Morning Show. I believe it's like April 21st. So we getting there. So for y'all that's new to the channel and haven't seen some of the remixes, we've been here for a while, y'all. Matter of fact, let's do a throwback Remix Morning Show about a year ago.
Is that
More
more
than
than
a woman.
Woman to be.
Yes, yes.
So what is she, like an Amazon then? She's more than a woman? Is she
Maybe
You're going to dig
maybe
deep.
she,
You're going to dig deep into these lyrics.
maybe she's a trans woman. It just is more than a woman. You know what I'm saying?
No, trans women are just women. They're not more than women. They're just women.
Well, women with extra things, which is fine. Don't get me wrong. I'm not mad.
What was 1970s? I don't know.
There were drugs involved, yeah.
And there was lots of
There
trans.
was drugs involved in the making.
1970? 1970?
Be serious, Kamau. Everybody was drugs involved. The drugs involved. In middle school, there was drugs involved. In the 70s, what are we talking about? It was the 70s. You could just put anything blank, drugs involved. In church, drugs was involved. Everything was involved.
Quaaludes were involved in something. It's somewhere.
Oh, where did I go? Oh man, I done disappeared. All right. Make sure y'all check out all the Remix Morning shows that we've been doing this for a while as we come up on our celebration of 5 years. Thank y'all for being supportive. Thank y'all for being in the chat room. Thank y'all for just listening in and help us continue to do it. All right, let's get back to it right here on the Remix Morning Show. Yeah. Man, 5 years, y'all.
Wow.
What's the You not celebrating with us, Eric?
We'll see.
What the fuck does that mean? It's happening. I mean, what do you mean we'll see?
You know, I felt every bit of that 5 years.
I mean,
it has been 5.
It's been 5 years.
Yeah.
April 21st, I believe. We'll be 5 years old. So, and that means the channel's 5 years old also already. Anyway, so let me go ahead and pull that story up for you real quick, and then I shall make my departure. All right, here it is.
Yes. Okay, not the story. No, don't know.
Here it is.
No. Most of the CARICOM stood against the two. Only two were threatened. One was Guyana, still under threat. I openly said that if they touch Guyana, Trinidad and Tobago will be there with you and stand with you. And the other was Trinidad and Tobago. We are threatened, and we are still threatened by Venezuela. I'll say a little more about that in a moment. So how could a CARICOM be a zone of peace when a narco dictator who imprisoned and killed thousands of civilians and opposition members? You will see recently over 300 persons from the opposition in Venezuela have been released. They were in prison because of politics. So how can it be when that regime was threatening violence to 2 CARICOM member states, there was no voice from the CARICOM? We were talking about a zone of peace. And in my respectful view, my country is not a zone of peace, and I'll tell you why. Because of the unreliability of the CARICOM and the above situation, TNT Guyana, We cannot bind ourselves to the same political ideologies, the same foreign issues, and the same security policies of the entire CARICOM. That's why I welcome Prime Minister all those words, that we have each our own pathway to walk, depending on what is happening in our country. We took very careful note of what happened in the CARICOM in 2025, when my government chose to lend support then to the Nicolas Maduro regime. And despite repeated threats against two fellow CARICOM members from Venezuela, most of the CARICOM stood against the two. Only two were threatened. It was one was Guyana.
You can stop it because it's on repeat. The other thing that she goes on to say, because if you notice, she's basically saying that they should not interfere in each other's policies, because they all have their independent policies. But then she goes on to say, regional leaders were elected in free and fair elections, and asking why Cuban citizens are denied that right. TNT will not support a dictatorship in Cuba or anywhere else. We support regular, free, and fair democratic elections. Now, so Kamala, Kamala's on a roll. She's been on a roll ever since she's got into office. So the language around much of this is not unsurprising. What is so, like I said before we played this, Carnival just ended. So to the point of the importance of nationalism, she made several cultural attacks on the some of the long-standing traditions. Like calypso is innately I want to say political, right? I wouldn't say necessarily revolutionary, but it is innately political, where calypso every year at Carnival, they have Calypso Monarch, where there are songs about the government. This year, the lights went out while performers were performing. The mic was cut while performers were performing their songs directly criticizing her. She also said that calypso music is nothing, that the soca fets are what's selling out. Nobody even comes around for calypso anymore. And these is just long-standing attacks on all of this. Also, there's $1 billion loan just came to Trinidad and Tobago from the U.S., by the way, right? Without any kind of, hey, what's this money for? Where's it going? What are we doing? Apparently it's supposed to be from paving a road from St. Martin to, I forget where, I think from Diego Martin to somewhere. But it's supposed to be for paving a road. But they've already taken out a $1 billion loan. So this is like, buying a credit card to pay, getting a credit card to pay off your loans, and you have to pay the money back, and we still don't know what this is for. But if you listen to that speech, because currently CARICOM is meeting in St. Kitts and Nevis, they do this every year. She has been whooping CARICOM all year, and then they let her come. They also let Marco Rubio come. And so in the comments of one of the posts from the National News Network, someone was like, the last time she met, because right before CARICOM, she had a one-on-one meeting with Marco Rubio, by the way, right before the speech. And so someone said, the last time she had a one-on-one meeting, Venezuela, Maduro got kidnapped. What's going to happen? What they speaking about now? And I said, Cuba. And lo and behold, bam, there it is. Because in 2014, because again, this is not her first rodeo as prime minister. She was prime minister before. In 2014, she was praising the cooperation measures that Obama was making with Cuba, saying that this was a step forward. She is trying to rewrite, and this is again what I'm saying about the importance of historical memory, the importance of nationalism, the importance of really understanding culture, where the zone of peace has come from as rhetoric and as practice, has emanated out of the Caribbean from Maurice Bishop. It was reiterated from the Caribbean and Latin American states, the community of Caribbean, Latin American and Caribbean states in 2014 in Cuba. She is trying to weaponize the call for the zone of peace because it is that call for the zone of peace that has been uniting the grassroots, groundwork organizations across the Caribbean. And so she is trying to undermine it. She is also trying to weaponize the tensions between Guyana and Venezuela over that land that belongs to neither because it is indigenous, but it is still, it still has been contested for decades.
Mm-hmm.
And so she's trying to inflame that because who's also behind that in support of Guyana is ExxonMobil.
Yeah, thank you. Mm-hmm. Because of the oil deposits found.
Office, yeah. So she goes there to just basically whoop them. That's the only reason why she went there for, to beat them.
I'm glad she mentioned Guyana and you pointed that out, because that's the other great thing about doing these delegations. When you get to meet with some of the officials of the revolutionary governments, or the people, who are connected, the organizations that are connected to, the commissions and that kind of thing. We got to meet with a former foreign minister, Jorge Arieza. What's today? Wednesday. We met with him Monday night. And we asked him about the amnesty law. And we asked him, I specifically asked, and we met with Carlos Ron, who was a former ambassador. Yeah, glad to see him. And I asked him about the Guyana issue. And see, this is why
it's a contested issue. I have my own thoughts because even as I say, I think one of the things that has been integral in the way that she's even able to speak about these things is because the way that, even if we talk about the left, one of the things that we're doing in NYC soon, NYCNJ, with the BAT members there, and shout out to Devin, who's in the chat probably, who's a part of Mass Rising, which is this anti-imperialist Caribbean org that's here in New York. And those are the conversations about, we're all in these spaces as first generation, second generation, immediate, just came over, but there's no conversation around what's actually occurring in the Caribbean in these movement spaces, so much as there is like Latin America, right? And so there's Caribbean people in organizations who are not having these conversations more broadly. And even when we're in these spaces, it's like, oh shit, you're 22? Oh shit, you're Jamaican? Like, because it's not what's led with, right? Because it's like we're all fighting this kind of African struggle and all of that, but it's not a conversation into which how people really understand how all of these things are integral. Because the reason why Guyana could play, or at least the Guyanese government can play on these tensions, is because there is a lack of giving a damn about what's going on in the Caribbean.
Right. Yep.
People really do not understand the Caribbean politics until some shit like this goes on. And now everybody's in Trinidad's business. And what I want to say about Trinidad, if you think this Democrat-Republican dichotomy is bad, you do not know UNC PNM. It's on steroids.
Wow.
You can't say, because if you say something about Kamala, what about Raleigh? Raleigh gone. Raleigh quit. Raleigh was just on the parkway in his sailor suit, okay? He was just on the road. He's living good. Or if you say, why they got the money? What they about to do with $1 billion? Well, PNM took money, and PNM did take money. Raleigh was out here back and forth a couple summers under the Biden administration, got an honorary Howard degree. So yes. But the other thing across the Caribbean is political disenchantment. Very, very, very low historically low voter turnout. Mia Motley won with 30% voter turnout.
Oh my
That they're
God.
supposed to be hearing. Mia Watley won overwhelmingly, 30% voter turnout.
Wow.
Kamala won with less than 54%.
Mm.
Right? So nobody's in support of this, but this is what's happening. And so then the question becomes, well, what are we doing with that? Similar to here, right? We know our people not voting. They are like politically like, but how are we harnessing that? Where are we moving people into? And that's really the question that's on the ground here. And so one of the things that's said when I talk to the comrades in Trinity, and they say, it's hard for us to move people because the question is for them, it's like, we don't see nobody doing anything around it, because for them, it's like, how are we supposed to stop the U.S.? How are we supposed to stop them? And so then what becomes the role and the expectation of us here? Where is the anti-imperialist Caribbean forces? Where are we having these conversations? Because we exist, but we exist amongst many.
Right.
And not like as a distinct force that's really trying to drive home what is happening in the Caribbean and how that has actual effects. Because that low voter turnout, the result of that has been a comma, or these sort of right-wing U.S. beholden leaderships, and not just there. Who just had to vote? Who was Ralph Gonzalez? Who was he? I can't remember anybody now, but he just lost, and he was one of the last standing progressive ones. He was also the president of CELAC previously. Because they all switch and take turns. But yeah, we're seeing how that has drastic effects. And so when it comes down to this dispute between Guyana and Venezuela on the land, it is important that we actually understand what's going on. It is important that we know what's going on, because the Caribbean has a deep-rooted revolutionary history, a deep-rooted Marxist, communist revolutionary history that has also underwent a counter-revolution. It's very hard to talk about communism. And so this is where we're at. This is the material conditions and the terrain that we actually have to be in conversation with. And so when she denounces a zone of peace, and we know there's a campaign and a network that exists, that's where we're moving people to have these conversations about, because she's making it seem like this is just some rhetoric people coming up with. She don't know nothing about the history of any of it. And so what is our role to reiterate that this is beyond her, including the relationship with Cuba and Venezuela?
And I got to tell you, especially in this moment after what was done on January 3rd, that's interesting. When was that? When did she do that? When was that speech?
Yesterday.
And she say nothing about a kidnapping.
Trump doing his State of the Union, she doing her own,
and she did hers. Ain't nobody say nothing about an illegal invasion. Ain't nobody say nothing about a violent kidnapping. Ain't nobody say nothing about
narco terrorist regime,
narco-terrorism, and the dictator.
Making sure she hits the points that Marco Rubio laid out.
Told her to say. And it's just really interesting when you talk about the zone of peace and the network and the campaign. I got to speak at the opening session, where I talked about our zone of peace campaign. When I tell you the Afro-Venezuelans, the indigenous Venezuelans, and the socialists and the Marxists and you talk about excited. I already have a meeting Thursday with them. So when we always talk about when Ricky is talking about where are we having these conversations, who are we having the conversations with? How do we know what is going on the ground when most of our people, even the people who are organized, cannot travel to other countries to meet these people and to find out for themselves. That's why we go and do these things. So, and for me, my focus really is I can tell our people this stuff until I'm blue in the face. But I think it is more important for people representing these countries, movements, regions to tell this information to our people themselves. That's why we make these connections. Because I admittedly don't know the history of Caribbean politics, but the people do. The revolutionary people do. So we need to talk to them. We need to have them come in to our organizing spaces and tell these stories and contribute to our expanding understanding of what we are all fighting. That's how you organize. You can't we don't even know the solutions that exist to some of the problems that we have because we are not talking to people who have won and continue to defend their own revolution. So it is critically important for us to not organize here in silos and to make these connections with people in revolutionary countries and in other parts of the world that are struggling against imperialism because they have tactics, history, answers that we don't know anything about. And we're over here beating our head, beating our heads against the wall. And every solution is not, easily
Absolutely, yeah.
translatable.
Right.
I don't want people to get
But
that
that's
idea.
what that's
But you have
scientific
to start with
socialism.
an idea that something exists that might be an answer to your problem, but it's in the examining and the analyzing the material conditions that solution was crafted in, the needs that the people had that were met by that solution, the pros and cons, the strengths and weaknesses of that system, and then looking at our material conditions and seeing, okay, how does it fit, how does it not fit. That's how it's done. But we really do not have to sit here and try to think up ways to be more comfortable in this system. People have won. People have won against this. We're just not talking to them. And if we do talk to them and work with them and organize with them, we all can win. Is this not going to happen tomorrow? It may not
No.
happen next year, but it will happen. But we have to do this work.
Yeah, right. Because I think there is both over and under emphasis about we do outnumber them, but it means nothing to outnumber them if we're not there's no strategic organized plan. We're just just running around as a majority. And so when we talk about the interconnectedness of all of these things, that's truly important. Because I do think much of it does come off as sloganeering, primarily because we've said it so many times. And I'm also of the mind, shout out to Rafiki Morris, you say something 7 times and it sticks. Yep. Right? So even if you don't completely understand it, you have an understanding of it. That domestic and global imperialism are counterparts. And so even as people are now trying to insert imperial boomerang, I think that they are missing the mark. Because CBS had said something, and I seen it in passing, like one of her prolific tweets, following Marco Rubio's speeches, because everybody is just making these grand fucking speeches. But when he was in Munich, I think, and I actually just listened to it on Ben Norton's show yesterday. I'm like, wow, okay. I'll get back to that. I have a little side story about that, me and Zion. But she had said, Nkrumah had analyzed or at least came to the conclusion that neocolonialism is the highest stage of imperialism, or the last stage of imperialism. But then also but these niggas ain't done with colonialism. Colonialism really ain't done yet, right? So have we reached that final stage of imperialism? And so I think that's something to even consider, especially as we look at what's occurring in West Asia. And I say that to say, I think everyone should go listen to Ajamu and Nina Farnia, who spoke about Iran. It's on UNAC's YouTube, but it was also reposted on BAPS. It has captions. Please go listen to it, because it was something Ajamu about this sort of capture of West Asia and how we're seeing it now as a continuation of something that's been continuing, right? Like it's something that's been ongoing in
Right.
little ways. And the way that Syria has just fallen has really been detrimental to so much of what is occurring in West Asia. So I do think to be able to analyze that and see how these things are processing and how these things are going are important, because it gives a full kind of understanding of what is it that they're actually trying to do. What is the end goal here? Because we talk about the expansion of hegemony, right? But what does it mean to capture? And what are they trying to do? And then when you listen to Marco Rubio's speech, it's like, oh, these niggas are crazy. One, like, what history is this? And so, so the part that I wanted to name is that I'm listening to it in the car, and Zion, because we're on our way to his occupational therapy, and I pause it because I'm like, you know, the U.S. is a settler colony, right? And so, and I know they talked about it. He's in 5th grade. They talked about colonies and all that already. It's like, but do you understand what that means? Because he's saying it like that's something good that the U.S. expanded, and but do you understand what he's actually saying? Colonialism is plummeting and land theft and killing, and it's not a good thing. And he's saying that they want to return to that. And so then we had a whole conversation about why does the U.S. hate Black people? And I said, you know, I don't even know that the U.S. hates Black people, because I don't even know that it is something about hating or liking. And if we're talking about the U.S. being a settler colony, they're not even thinking about us, right?
Yep, that's right.
So we're not even really so much of a thought to like or hate. We are useful. Because there's a goal for the continuing of profiting, right? So we're like, you know, and so even explaining that to him, I had to think about that, like, because that made me think about, you know, what Ear Doctor named about this man with the sign, "We're not apes," right? And then the reaction to the Tourette's, right? It's so much focus on whether or not they like us, and we know they don't like us. So, like, you know, but that's not, none of this, I truthfully, you know, if we are thinking, you know, with scientific socialism, you know, as Marxists, truthfully, if we look at the base and superstructure, right, this really is not about whether or not they like us.
Nope.
Because it's not just us. And I think that there's a way that we're entrapped in it is only us, but really there's people, if we look at Asia alone, the exploitation of Asia, right, that's under discussed. Even what we had that, you know, we say flippantly, like, whatever happened to Yugoslavia, to make the point about balkanization, but also, like, look at what they did to Yugoslavia.
Right.
What they could do to Eastern Europe. They don't, it's not about whether they like or don't like or hate it. Like, sure, there's prejudice, right? But I'm also the Kwame Ture mind, like, because ultimately that's not the motivation. Is it beneficial? Yeah, that's why race is structured. But it's not, I mean, motivation.
Yeah, that's, yeah, that is and that's hard to explain to some people because of where we are, I think, and how we are deeply indoctrinated, and we, because of the way things were set up in this system, yeah, we were, and the way we were taught about it. Yes, we think that, everything that was done to us because we are Black. No, it's because we were in the way of what they wanted. And they saw us as useful. And I really not I feel like I have to really say, not that they saw us as useful because we are Black. They simply saw people in the way of the thing they wanted to make profit off of as a tool to make the profit. That's it. People are tools to the imperialist system.
Yeah.
It's not a matter of, are they, the philosophical and ideological argument behind the policies of colonialization are draped in this feeling of acceptability of the humanity, which is something I learned, thanks again, Dr. CBS, about the Volodalid debates. Um, those debates were not about whether we accept the indigenous people that the Spaniards were colonizing in the. They weren't talking about whether they liked the Mesoamerican people or not. That's not what the conversations were about. The conversations were about people who are not like us, are less than us, and they can be enslaved for our profit and their benefit. And it was not an issue of race. It wasn't an issue of we accept them or we don't like something about them. It was literally based on Aristotle's philosophy of natural slaves. That was not a racial argument because there was no such thing as race in ancient Greece.
Right.
But the argument was about, from Aristotle's point of view, because he was a Greek supremacist, that everybody who wasn't Greek was less than Greeks. So everybody who was not Greek was considered a natural slave by Aristotle, because in his view, everybody who was not Greek was less intelligent, was less refined, was less cultured, and they needed to be enslaved because that's all they could do. That was how they would be useful to Greek society. So
Yeah.
Aristotle's argument of natural slaves is what undergirded the continued slavery and violent abuse of the global South under Spanish colonization, and that continued and got translated into, where it got translated into. So it is not about race. It is not about race. It is not about whether they like us or not. It is not about anti-Blackness, not the system. I'm sure.
Not at least the more broader view, because I ultimately agree. Damn, I had a train of thought that just slipped me.
Right on at that station, didn't it?
Yeah, because I do. Well, one, I do want to name this. We're still African people at the end of the day,
Right.
and any colonized people, for their own self-preservation, need to be thinking and culturally, nationally in these terms, right? Just as I named earlier. So this is not even to say, oh, this is what I was going to name, that, as we speak about Trinidad and Tobago, Eric Williams names this in Capitalism and Slavery. CBS talks about the strategic location of Blackness to kind of teeter on. It's not so much that we're Black, but where we were situated materially, right?
Right.
Right. And Walter Rodney plays on this a bit, right? That there is a reason why things get structured, why it gets structured. So, to think about things dialectically, and I just want to name, we're Black Liberation Media, right? So it's not to say that Blackness does not play a role or to an account, but what it is to say is that thinking about it in terms of a superstructure, and thinking about it in terms of today, if we're thinking about it in terms of today and trying to analyze it, everybody who is not deemed American, right?
Yep.
And they decide what that is and who that is. Anybody who's not deemed American is subject to getting their ass whooped.
Right.
And so there's a
Exactly.
way, right? So that can fall under immigrants, migrants, us Black people, right? Anybody who they do not think because they are America first. And if you listen to Marco Rubio's speech, this is for the preservation of America and what they understand to be the U.S. And this is 250 years of this, right? So they are forcing that sort of cultural imperialism to take place so that they can maintain the state. So they are like, get in line. Yeah, the American. Right. And so that's where we're at. And so it's when we have these arguments about this isn't our fight, and then we see that the naturalization or the birthrights law and what that actually means in terms of citizenship for actual African people.
Oh my God.
Right? And again, it cements that if you are not American, you are the other. And so you're dispossessed, you're exploited, and that's what it is.
Yep. And then to make a further connection, when you listen to that speech that Marco, to go right back to what you brought up, when you listen to that speech that Marco Rubio made in Germany, and he references, Greco-Roman Western civilization, Aristotle's natural slave. That is the Western, the Greco-Roman Western civilization. And also the reason CBS even told me about that is because it's also connected to white Christian nationalism. This is it is
which is American. It's the American way. And like last week, Air Doctor had mentioned that the church and state thing, and then wanting to make it again ideological and cultural, right? This is part of that cultural imperialism, that this is the way. And outside of that, you're the enemy. And so, yeah, and that's what we're seeing play out policy-wise and then overtly now, right? Because they're just naming it. But it's also been what it has been. We've been steeped into a particular view of this, shining shining thing on a hill or whatever.
A shining beacon on a hill or something like that.
And that that people are leaving to fulfill their dreams, or people who are who can see what's going on, adamantly against the U.S., but somehow still find themselves advocating for regime change in other places, right? So it's still a way. There's still a way that that counter-revolutionary, counter-revolution that has happened over decades. There's still a way that we get wrapped back around into cementing ourselves as USian, right? Or American. Even with the reactionary nationalism of we are all America, which a revolutionary nationalism is we are, because this is the Americas.
Right. This is Nuestra America.
Yeah. Right. This is our Americas. It doesn't belong to these heads of states. It belongs to the people. Right?
That's right.
It's the same thing with we built this country, which is one of those things that just needs to stop being said, because even if we acknowledge that is true in some material ways, what does that even account for? And then whose history is that says that? Because to even name that, you have left out a whole bunch of processes of how this country even got built, and then what was built. This is still a settler colony. We are still eternally colonized within a settler colony with no real actual rights. So what was actually built except for those concessions to preserve a state that folks are fighting to get back to?
But what's also ours, our culture that has not been co-opted by the state yet?
They say if you're not useful, you're useless. Hey, listen. I tell you what, I was back here like, let them cook. Y'all was back here cooking. I ain't even want to come on. I was like, y'all in y'all bag. Like Pilares. You know about Pilares, Erica?
A tamarind sauce.
Yes, man. What? Man, every time I go to Caribbean spot, I'm like, let me get back of the Pilares over there. Stop playing. Anyway, what you so that's like just in case you didn't know, Jackie, what Pilares is like dough. Dough dropped in sauce, fried dough and sauce.
I
Yummy.
will eat some fried dough. I can't tell you how much fried cornmeal, fried
It's like 50, I think, too, right?
yucca,
Yeah.
plantain. Man, I had a good time this weekend.
I got me a fryer. I went and bought me a fryer, and I did some cut up some okra. I get some plantain. Or it's
I
plantain,
made baked
plantains.
with Jackie. Jackie, you had my bake before. The fried
Ooh, the bakes.
Yes.
Man,
Good
we
stuff.
gotta do a
the
whole show
saltfish.
on. Yes, we gotta do a whole show on food somewhere around here. We gotta get it popping. I might start something up anyway. Oh, what was I about to say? Oh yeah. So speaking about I know we're gonna get to a break and everything, but speaking about, when we talk about, I'm a historian like y'all, but I was trying to get a check. When we talking about the Asians here in the railroads, was they just coming here to get jobs, or was it, they wasn't enslaved like us? What was it about? We always talking about the Asians railroads here in America. What was it? They came here to get jobs, and they was just like, oh damn, y'all pretty good at math. Let's put you on the railroads. What was it?
How did math get into
I just like sometimes
The
Lord,
engineering of a railroad.
the
It's
value of
mathematical.
that mind. But
that is not what they
they
did. They
built the
didn't.
railroads. I don't know what they do in the blueprints,
No,
or were
they
they
were
just
not
they were
doing any kind of
laboring,
engineering. Nothing. They were breaking rocks and laying tracks and human excavation and being blown up.
Because I think
Yeah,
they get
I would consider it like sharecropping in a bit, right? Like lease workers.
Okay. Because I think they get thrown into they were enslaved too, working the railroads, and I was like, wait a minute, I don't know about that.
We need to
I don't know
understand
if
the
they get
difference.
thrown into it, but I do think that the concept of lease and working and sharecropping is just under discussed in terms of how that has grown into the labor movement in itself. But also like what that was exploitative. They had them people in shanty conditions. They were in no less. They were no better off.
Oh, okay. Cause God is cruel. Wonder how we got here. No, he's talking about building this. We built this city. We built America, and it's always like, okay, did we?
Yeah.
Anyway, let's go ahead and take a quick break. If y'all want to, y'all can keep going. I'll do a real quick break, real quick, just to do it since I'm already here. And make sure y'all tune in. Okay. Make sure y'all tune in tomorrow, Thursday, for a classical breakdown. We doing Marvin Gaye, y'all. So that's gonna be a real dope one. So make sure y'all tune in for that one. All right, let's take a break right here on the Remix Morning Show. Oh, we're gonna just let you sing then. Sing, Jackie. Big up to all y'all tuning in. Thank y'all. Hit that like button. Subscribe if you're new to the channel. Go to patreon.com. Become a member over there. Get footage as rare. Donate where? At blkliberationmedia.org. Let me go ahead and put that banner at the bottom of the screen. So if you need to spell it out for you, we got it. All right, boom. So it is Women's Wednesday. We're about to get into Women's History Month next month. So big up to all the sisters out there making moves and doing things. I wanted to highlight a sister real quick. She goes by the name of Nicola Rowlock. Yes, Nicola Rowlock is a British academic, writer, and activist, professor of social policy and race at King's College London, having previously been reader in equality and education at Goldsmiths College, University of London, and has written several books, including The Color of Class, Educational Strategies of Black Middle Classes. In 2014, she's been included in the power list of most influential Black Brits and has received the Precious Award for her work in racial equality. Yes, coming straight from Southwest London, whose parents are from Barbados. Yeah, she got like a bunch of books y'all might want to check out. Got different awards. 2015 Women's Achievement Award of Color Precious Award in 2016 and 2019, Powerless of Britain's most influential people of African and African Caribbean heritage. All right, so go check that sister out and big up to the sisters that's making moves. All right, with that said, let's get back to it right here on the Remix Morning Show. Yeah.
You know, I wanted to say about your question before the break.
Mm-hmm.
Do people know why Chinese immigrated here? Do people know? Speaking of history, do people know? The Japanese.
Here I am.
Okay.
Here I am.
Break it down. Break it down.
Japanese imperialism. Yep. Japanese imperialism.
I was going to say that. Yeah.
Yeah, the Japanese
Terrible.
have hated the Chinese.
And the Koreans.
I don't know the origins of. I don't know all of the history. But of course I learned a little bit more of the history. I knew that there were tensions between Japan and China, but I didn't understand. And I knew that Japan was a fascist empire. People don't understand that.
Really bad. Yeah.
Yes, very, very bad. And the current government of Japan, which is led by a woman. So I keep saying to people, stop it with this. If women rule the world, we'd have peace. The hell is wrong with you? The current president. I can't remember if they do president or prime minister, but the current head of the Japanese government is a supporter of Imperial Japan.
Mm-hmm.
So she's a fascist.
Mm-hmm.
And she is an openly admitted fascist. So Japan has always, let me not say has always, let me be more careful with my words. There has been a long-standing, not just tension, but kinetic conflict between Japan and China. And the conflict has been moved by Japan. They have occupied China. They have committed massacres. You need to read about the rape of Nanking.
And Korea.
The Korean
Japan
War.
Was awful.
So the reason Chinese immigrated to the United States in the 19th century was because of imperialist fascist Japanese aggression in Japan. And World War II was won. Japan was defeated in World War II by the Chinese. By the time the U.S. dropped the 2 atomic bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, the Chinese had already beat the Japanese. They already kicked their asses. So the Japanese surrendered because of China.
Mm-hmm. Twice, because they went in and they helped Korea too.
Mm-hmm.
That's why they have the statue.
Right.
So are the Japanese like the Brits when it comes to top tier in their race? When they look at it,
in their race.
I mean,
get off this screen.
No, wait a minute. You know how the Brits think they like the top tier of the Europeans. Like then you got the going down to Americans, Australians, Jewish, and all that different
I don't know
things.
If that's any of that. They are as imperial as the British. Yes.
Yes.
That's what I was getting at. That's what I was getting at.
That's the correct framing. I will never justify or validate.
top tier imperialists.
What the hell is that? I'm not supposed to answer that question. What?
That's why I got y'all. You know what I mean? I got thoughts. I just don't know how to word them right sometimes.
Yes? No.
All right.
Oh boy. Woo-wee. So yeah, man, that's the situation in the world is critical. It is critical. This whole recapturing the essence of empire that Marco Rubio was. That's basically his speech was let's revive the Monroe Doctrine. Let's
beyond that. It was literally let's colonize everywhere again. Okay.
Yeah, let's expand it. Let's not just, make it healthy and robust again. Let's expand it. And I don't know. I am really opposed to naming everything that is being done by Trump. Like I don't like calling it the Don Roe doctrine, because again, that centers this one person,
He also
as
came up with
if,
it, right? He
huh?
named it. He named it that himself. So, like,
I know, and it's like, why would you repeat what he did? Why would you give that man credit for something that he is giving himself credit? Well, you are a bunch of enablers. Y'all need to be on reality shows and being cussed out by people like Dr.
Exactly.
Now Dowden.
I still say Swaziland. I refuse.
Uh,
Okay. The moment
I
they
ain't calling it
Swaziland,
Eastwa
I will
nothing.
call.
Eastwa what?
I don't recognize that at all.
But the situation in the world is critical, and one of those critical situations, which, when you go to a revolutionary country, and I know I'm going to be, y'all know how I am, I'm going to be on this tip for a couple of weeks, probably talking about Venezuela, because this is a different situation from when I went the first time. It is one thing to know, okay, we're struggling under US sanctions and attacks, but we're resilient. But we go to Venezuela after an invasion and a kidnapping of their president. And what we saw was just like, there's something extra special. I don't know what this is something different, because in the midst of them clearly being, I mean, they are traumatized, but they are also, see, you can be traumatized and fall apart, or you can be traumatized and become extra vigilant, and that's where they are. Which but they are also, even in their extra vigilance, they are still like very, they are showing a level of concern for Cuba, even as they are going through every meeting we had with every official from anywhere, even people on the street. We're just talking to people on the street. They find out we're from the US, and they want to know, what are the first question several people asked was, are you all doing anything to support our president? Are you going to the jail? I was literally asked by several people, are you going to the jail? Does he know that you support him? And then so when I was the I think like the third time just a regular person asked that question, I texted Austin and said, "Hey, do we have anything going
We
on
went out
in
there.
New
We went
York?
out there.
Yeah, do we
With
have
the
anything
gun.
going on in New York? What's going on? Do we have a constant press?" Because when
Mhm.
you go to a whole nother country and people are like, "Oh, you're from," especially if you're African, because see, they always see the Europeans, because they do delegations all the time. But when they see us, because they are us, they really want to know what's going on. And you know what else they asked me, Erica? Blew my mind. You know how we kind of avoided wading into that whole new Black Panther Party thing because, it is what it is. Let me tell you how important it is to be ideologically clear in the age of social media. They know about them.
I know.
They asked me about them.
Yeah, I think that's under recognized too. That they do watch what we say. They are keeping up with what we're doing. And so even when people, like, how people discuss mobilization, that's why I get so, like, I guess, Leninist about it. Right? Because it's like, it's not about us, y'all. If we're saying that we're part of this global fight against imperialism, then what is a global fight? It does not mean that we're only marching through the streets for our people, but so that they know that they're not alone.
Mm-hmm.
Because that is what strengthens them. Like, it's no surprise that they would ask, "What are you all doing?" Because they go back and they say, you know what they're doing in the U.S. They outside there every day. We can't be not doing nothing. Like, we motivate each other to continue to keep going. But
Mm-hmm.
if we don't know that the things are happening, We don't, and so like that's why I think there should be a broader kind of view on the utility and the purpose and the strategy behind some of these things that, again, to that kind of social chauvinism, it's bigger than us, y'all. It's bigger than us.
Yep, it really is, and that really blew my mind. That and this was actually the people who were a part of the organizations. Like we actually went into one of the communes the last time we went to the commune, but we they didn't include in the tour, going into the communes and talking to the people. On this delegation we did, and some of the people who were from who live in the commune, who run the commune enterprises, and communes is something that we got to talk about. Might not be,
Bring Austin on if we do.
Yeah, might not be the solution, but there is something about communal living that we deeply misunderstand in this country, because it's very hippified, right? We think communes, we think hippies in this country, right? But it's a very interesting concept, and I think it's worth paying attention to. But I thought it was interesting that these people who are clear on imperialism, they are clear on what happened on January 3rd. All this stuff that people are saying about Delcy Rodriguez is betraying Maduro and this, that, and the third. The people are clear. That's bullshit. So they know what is being said about their country in the US, and they're wondering if we believe it. So they're also seeing these little pockets of resistance. And the fact that they picked up on these, what was it, 5 or 6 people in this new Black Panther Party thing. And here we go to Venezuela, and just randomly, this lady asked me, the two of the guides from the commune, these were the regular people, asking me, what is going on in the US? Or do you all know where our president is? Have you been, I tell them what the organization is. They're like, oh, well, are black people supporting our president? Are there demonstrations? Does he know you're there? And what about the new Black Panther Party? What are they doing? Like, this is not a game. This is not a joke, y'all. This isn't a hobby. People around the world really are watching, and they are waiting for us to do something. And we're sitting here,
They're not really waiting for us. I do want to be clear.
Thank you. They're not.
They're watching. They kind of got an idea that we ain't really doing.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you for that correction. Yeah, they're not sitting around, waiting themselves to do something until that's not, no. They understand our strategic proximity. We are inside the beating heart of empire. What they are looking for is, as they are striking their blows on the outside, they're wondering when the death blow is going to come from the inside.
Right.
And they're literally asking the people who are responsible for delivering that blow, what y'all doing? Because we all out here fighting. Here they are, wondering, still on high hyper alert for the next attack, as they are watching the US military mobilize around Iran, as they're still seeing the ships in the Caribbean, as they're still demanding their president and first combatant come back. And by the way, Celia Flores was the former president of the National Assembly. Please stop calling that woman just Maduro's wife.
Thank you.
They call her first combatant for a reason. She is the daughter of a revolutionary,
Chavez's lawyer,
who was assassinated by the right-wing force. Oh my God. So the importance of the connections of all of these anti-imperialist struggles, even with whatever contradictions exist within these countries that they recognize, we don't overplay that. That's not hyperbole. That's not us talking about a utopian anything. That really is how people are struggling. There really is international solidarity, because like we were talking about, excuse me, Cuba in all of this, and how even as Venezuela is trying to defend itself and in this really terrible struggle, even though it's in a negotiation phase with the United States, we have to understand that even negotiations are struggles. Negotiations are risk for both parties. I learned that from the young brother at ISB, the Institute of Simon Bolivar, and Jorge Arieza. Negotiation is war too, and they're involved in that. But at the same time, they're also thinking about, like, how do we help our brothers in Cuba? How do we help our brothers and sisters in Cuba? And then we have countries like Russia, who so many on the left here have a problem with, but they're sending a whole diesel tanker to Cuba to break the siege against Cuba. Now, how that's going to play out, don't know. Don't know. I don't know how it's going to play out, because is it a tanker, or do they have military personnel on it to, in case the U.S. Navy does it? I don't know, but I do know that Russia is displaying a level of international solidarity that people in this country aren't even talking about. They aren't giving Russia any kind of credit for meeting the needs of another anti-imperialist country, because so-called anti-imperialists in this country have a thing against Putin. But the anti-imperialists in the global South celebrate the fact that Russia has once again shown its anti-imperialist solidarity, even with whatever internal contradictions or misconceptions or opinions you may have about Russia. So what are we talking about here? What are we doing here? And why are we not looking at this as,
because I said we have 3 minutes. I didn't want to name, because you mentioned, because we mentioned Russia. I do think, even however people think about Russia, right? What this shows is the sort of force that Russia actually has, which is why in the documents about the U.S. supporting the Christians in Nigeria, they're naming Russia and China, which is why in the security documents in the Caribbean, they're naming Russia and China, because tariffs are inevitably not working the way that they thought they would work in China, and the sanctions backfired against Russia, right? And they're still standing, and they're standing enough to still offer some kind of support to an Iran, to a Cuba, right? In ways that we see now, there's, all kind of actions going on in Mexico following these attempts for Mexico to try to help Cuba, right? And now it's a whole kind of big blow up, knowing that, Mexico is really teetering a line here, because 80% of their damn exports comes from the US, right? So they're in a bind. So any kind of solidarity that they offer is under pressure, right? And we're seeing a lot of that kind of play out with this spontaneous action that we need to really be paying attention to, because things don't just happen coincidentally. And also, these are U.S. weapons. So whoever's shooting, they shooting with U.S. weapons. So I just want to be real clear about that as well. But see, all of these dynamics are happening at play because destabilization is the name of the game. Balkanization is the name of the game, because they do not want to see revolutionary nationalism take hold, because they want to continue to recolonize the world. And what revolutionary nationalism has done since 1945 was an influx of independence movements, right? That we can argue what they become, but the significance of that has been on the backs of nationalism, and which is something that they are trying to break up, from Syria to Iran to Cuba to Venezuela to here in our own communities.
Let them cook. Oh, let them cook. Man, y'all bringing it today. Big up to Women's Wednesday. Somebody else wanted to show love on Women's Wednesday.
Oh, shit.
Alex.
Oh,
01178 sending $100 lesson with a penny off. Peace and love to the Women's Wednesday crew. Y'all knowledge and revolutionary spirit feeds my soul. We appreciate
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Definitely. Y'all bringing it, man. Y'all stay bringing it. This is the Remix Morning Show, y'all. Y'all not going to get this type of commentary. Y'all not going to get this type of journalism nowhere else. And stories about faraway lands, like right here on the Remix Morning Show, y'all. So, BAP, what y'all got coming up soon?
Tonight is Flocka's event, I believe, on
Oh,
Black
that's right. Yes.
Radical Tradition
Let me
at the
find
Black
the thing.
Workers and Wellness Center
Mm-hmm.
in DC. I believe that's it. I think we're closing out. I can't think of anything immediate. That's not, it's y'all business at least.
Yes, it's a lot going on. It's just our business.
Right.
We can't
Like I don't know what else we're doing.
And I know y'all don't want to miss. Okay.
I was going to say, check out BAP's YouTube, because we did upload that Nina Farnia and Ajama Baraka webinar for UNAC. Also, if folks are following the Movement for Social Justice in Trinidad and Tobago on Facebook, they just had Sophia Edwards, who I love, Dr. Sophia Edwards of Johns Hopkins University and BAP Baltimore. She was on there. She's a fellow Trini, talking about the Black Power Revolution in Trinidad. So good stuff. Go check it out.
And yeah, I know y'all don't want to miss Darker Than Blue, because I know Jackie got some stories to tell.
I do, and I'm still, man.
Yeah. Y'all gotta tune in. It's a great week for news right here on Black Liberation Media. Thank y'all for tuning in once again on the Remix Morning Show. We'll be back here tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. Like I said, join us also at 11 for Classical Breakdown. Me and Kim Brown. Have a great day, y'all. Make something happen. Organize. It's the only way we're gonna rise. All right, we out of here, y'all. Peace out. Have a great one. Yeah. Black Liberation Media is a collective of Black and African organizers, journalists, academics, and media personalities serving Black and African masses seeking to further grow in their understanding of themselves, their histories, and the African world through entertainment and news. Please continue to like, subscribe, and donate to the channel so we can further serve you and liberate our people. You can also go to blkliberationmedia.org, get some merchandise, and also become a Patreon member and a member from the YouTube. Please do what you can, share, and show your love as we will show ours for you. Black Liberation Media.